Hello guys, Greg back with another video. So today I'm going to review a fragrance from the British house of Ormonde Jayne, and this one's called Ormonde Man. It's the signature men's scent from the house. Now I've been wanting to review this for ages. I've had this a fair while now, but the reason I didn't review it before was that I thought the availability outside of London was really bad. But I was actually in the boutique in London a couple of weeks ago and had a discussion and found out they do actually ship overseas, including the US. So if you do want to try any fragrances from this house, samples, or if you want to buy full bottles, just go to the Ormonde Jayne website and you can actually get these shipped overseas, which is pretty cool. So this one, Ormonde Man, this was released in 2004. It's a woody spicy fragrance, at least I think it's a woody spicy fragrance. Perfumer on this one is Cardamon. Cardamon the nose behind all of the fragrances from the Ormonde Jayne range. He's also the man behind the Eccentric Molecules house. He's famous for creating those one-note scents with the ISO-E molecule in. He also did Kinski for Men, I believe, and Clive Christian X for Men are a couple of the other well-known fragrances that he's behind. The owner of the house is a lady called Linda Pilkington. She's also a perfumer, so I'm pretty sure that she collaborates on all of the creations from the Ormonde Jayne house. So the name Ormonde Jayne comes from combining Linda Pilkington's middle name, which is Jane, with the name of the first laboratory where she started to create perfumes, and that was called Ormonde Terrace. So that's where we get Ormonde Jayne from. Now there's a few things that drew me to this house and that I really love about this house. The first thing is the use of really unusual ingredients. So Linda Pilkington strives to find unusual, obscure ingredients to give a different take on particular accords, and she's done extensive travelling around the globe to try and find these weird and wonderful ingredients that make the fragrances different from anything else out there. The particular note in this fragrance that she's discovered is called hemlock. She discovered that on a trip to Canada, and I'm going to talk a bit more about hemlock later on. The other thing I love about this house, or one of many things I love about this house, is the fact that all these fragrances are actually handmade in London, which is really rare these days. The house has a studio and a lab near Belsize Park, which is in the northwest of the city. Fragrances tend to be a mixture of natural and synthetics. Linda Pilkington likes to get about an 80-20 ratio, so 80% natural ingredients in the fragrances. So that's a little bit about the house. Let's get on and have a look at this particular fragrance. Let's look at the presentation first of all. So here we have the box. This is actually the sleeve on the front. You can see for yourself, Ormonde Jayne London, Ormonde Man, Eau de Parfum. If I slide the sleeve off, this is the actual box that it comes in. It might be quite difficult to get this all in view, but if I lift this up, you can see Ormonde Jayne there. The box is magnetic, and if I open it back up and tilt it like that, you can see that you've got this kind of like silk bed, and the fragrance sits in like that. So it's really, really nice presentation. When you actually go and pick this up and you get it, it really gives you that feeling of sort of luxury, that you bought something luxury. So there's a presentation of the box. Let's have a look at the bottle. Bring up a bit closer so you can see Ormonde Jayne, Ormonde Man. I've actually spilt some juice on here and damaged this label, but never mind. You've got the OJ logo, which is on the back here. Now this is a really beautifully crafted bottle. You can see the shapes here, and it's extremely thick glass, extremely heavy. Take the cap off. The cap is metal. Again, this is really bulky, heavy cap. You could do someone an injury with that. Let's have a quick look at the sprayer. So a pretty consistent spray. So all in all, very nice presentation. Very impressed with it. So let's dig into it and see what it actually smells like. What I'm going to do is I'll list the notes as I always do now for you, and then I'll actually talk about what I get from the fragrance. So right off the top, it opens up with a really, say, an invigorating fresh citrus smell. There's bergamot in here, and it's one of my favourite uses of bergamot in a fragrance. You also, right at the top, there's a very sort of boozy gin accord, which is actually coming from the juniper in here. But the main player throughout most of the fragrance is pink pepper. Now the use of pink pepper in Ormonde Jayne fragrances is not like any other that I've come across. It really is fantastic. And in this fragrance it comes off kind of like, sort of like a very light red rose, which is mixed with a more traditional pepper smell. It's like a red rose that's got sort of strong wafts of pepper emanating from it. That really doesn't do it justice, but trust me, it's a really great note, really well blended. After about 10 minutes I pick up some cardamom in here, which gives, I guess, like a sweet resinous accord, and it gives a first hit of spiciness to the fragrance. And you also get coriander comes in at the same time, which gives a little bit of additional citrus, which combines well with the bergamot and also adds a little bit more spice to the composition. So there's quite a few different types of spices going on here and working well together. There's warm spices, there's fresh spice, there's some very mild, subtle spice in here as well. So when we get into the mid, that's where this starts to get interesting. So apparently there is oud oil in the fragrance. I think if it's there, it must be very well blended, because I actually don't pick it up at all. It could just be me, but I'm not getting oud from this. The mid for me is mainly about the hemlock that I mentioned earlier, and also incense. So hemlock is a poisonous plant. Apparently it was used in ancient times to poison prisoners, and myth also has it that Socrates used hemlock to commit suicide, apparently. So quite an interesting backstory to it. But basically it produces a really beautiful, authentic, kind of unusual woody note. And when that combines with the cedar in this particular fragrance, you get a very solid woody foundation. There's also like a sort of fir or pine tree note running through the middle of the fragrance. And as I said before, I definitely get incense running throughout, although that's not listed as a note in here, but I'm certain it's in there. When you get to the base of the fragrance, very subtle. It's not a loud base, it's died down, calmed down by then, but you get some sandalwood, which gives a little bit of creaminess. There's some hints of vetiver in there, which add a bit of greenness to the fragrance, and there's some musk as well in there. The cedar's still quite prominent in the base as well. So to summarise the sort of main accords, if you like, of the fragrance, or what I get from it, and this is in order, I'd say it's firstly peppery, it's spicy, it's woody, it's green, it's aromatic, and it's creamy. And some words to describe the fragrance, in terms of its character, I would say it's refined, sophisticated, classy, and mysterious. Now the type of person I see wearing this is like a really classy gentleman, but a classy gentleman that's got a bit of an edge to them. So somebody like Ryan Gosling maybe, or Tom Hardy, I can imagine wearing this. A guy that really looks the part and kind of is the part too. It's not a powerhouse fragrance at all, it's actually very subtle. People will smell this on you, but what's likely to happen is they'll get a whiff of it and think, you know, what's that? And then come in a little bit closer to investigate more. And I always think there's something really classy about a fragrance that manages to get you noticed, but in a subtle way, rather than really announcing your presence in a loud, brash way. This one doesn't give everything away right from the start. People need to get close to you to really appreciate it. Now, whilst I say this is a very classy gentleman's scent, I also think this works well for ladies as well. The composition in Ormonde Man is actually 80% identical to Ormonde Woman. There's just some subtle differences in there. And Ormonde Woman's another one that I would wear as well. So yeah, definitely could work for a lady as well. Now, purpose and occasion for this one. It's an all year round fragrance, I think. It's fresh and aromatic, as I've said before, which works quite well in the warmer climates. It's not harsh or cloying at all. But it's also got that woods and spice core in there that gives it the strength to work through sort of the cooler temperatures. I wear this one both day and night, no preference really. Favourite time to wear this one is when I'm wearing a suit. I wore this to a wedding in August, and that was a perfect situation for the fragrance. Age-wise, I'd say anyone really from 20 to 60 could enjoy this fragrance. There's no real restriction. I wouldn't say, I'd never say there's a restriction on age with fragrance, but what I would say about this one, it suits somebody with a mature personality, or certainly mature persona, I'd say. It's not a serious fragrance, but it's more serious than it is playful, if that makes sense at all. Comparison-wise for Ormonde Man, can't really think of anything that it smells like other than Ormonde Woman, so I'm going to say it's quite unique, really. Performance-wise, so I get between 6 and 8 hours consistently every time I wear this, which for me is about par for the course. It's not bad, it's not great, it's kind of average for my skin. If I'm getting 6 to 8 hours, most people will probably get more because my skin's not great. In terms of projection and sillage, works again quite sort of, it's average. For the first 2 to 2.5 hours, it's works quite well. But then it comes a lot closer. It always sits quite close, as I said. People will smell you, but not from, across the room. So yeah, the performance generally is average on my skin. Price wise, this bottle here is 120ml, and this retails for £140. There's also a 50ml bottle which is £90. So this bottle, this actual one here, if you think about it, £140 rather for 120ml. It's not much more than £1 per mil, which for a fragrance of this quality, which is 30% concentration, it's a very high quality fragrance. I don't think that's bad at all. As I said before, you can purchase this if you're overseas. If you go to the Ormonde Jayne website, you can even select your currency. You can buy in dollars or whatever you wish to do. So finally going to rate this one. So start with longevity. As I said before, it's about average on my skin. So I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. It's not terrible, it's not great. Projection and sillage, again, very average. It's a little bit better than the longevity. It does, at least at the start, it comes off quite strong. Just for a little bit. So I'm going to give it 7.5 out of 10. Smell wise, this is where this one really shines. It's a really fantastic scent. Could really recommend it highly. And I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 for smell. So my overall score, taking into consideration that smell always kind of adds a bit more weight to the overall score, I'm going to give Ormonde Man 8.5 out of 10. So there you go, guys, that is the end of the review. Thank you very much for watching as always. I hope it was useful, hope you enjoyed it. If you do check this one out or any others from the house, please do let me know what you think, thoughts are. Please rate, comment and subscribe. I'll be back very soon with another video. Cheers!